NET-609 network security. We're still working on connecting networks. Week 3, Tuesday. We talked about security, mostly LAN security, and we did a little bit of monitoring. Span. On the switch, we'll talk about that. ACLs, they worked on getting a IP version 6 network working, and then we'll finish up the actual ACLs on Thursday. Quality of service, we didn't actually talk about that. We can do a little bit of that on Thursday. Thursday we hope to kind of wrap up the connecting networks part, of course. LAN and wireless LAN security. So, OSI model. Take a look. We have the application hooks into whatever app we're running, present the data, create a session. How we're going to transport the data, the route it's going to take, our IP address, and data link to the devices. So if you were to have data coming down, let's see, we have data up here from your app. Here it might get encrypted. Create a session. How are we going to transport that data? Probably get a port number and we break it into a segment. Then we add IP, so we encapsulate that by IP. This would give us the path we're going to take. So now we call it a packet. And then if it's Ethernet, down here, if it's Ethernet, you get a MAC address, and then it's called a frame. And then the physical layer figured out how to put it on the medium. What are the mediums? Think about it for a second. Could be wire, could be wireless, could be fiber optic. So we took a look at, you always think of the access layer. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But how we connect in. So over here we have wireless, over here we have wired. And we just talked about some of the issues that we may have with security. Okay, so the first we talked about DHCP server up here. A rogue device could exhaust all the DHCP addresses and then start a DHCP server. So keep it pretty simple. Somebody could go here and get their default gateway, okay, and their other DHCP material. Then when they actually want to go out and get some data, they would go here, and then we would go out to, let's say, the internet. And so then this rogue device could collect all that. If we're talking about networks, this device, you could put a rogue device on, and if the switch was poorly configured, they could simulate like a switch or a networking device and create a trunk. And once they create a trunk, they would see all the VLAN information. We talked about Cisco Discovery Protocol, which is really handy to use to identify devices connected. But that can be a security risk. People can flood MAC addresses into the switch, and if the switch then becomes overloaded and it's a well, let's say like a unmanaged switch, then it would then just broadcast. When a switch doesn't know, well, like when a switch gets its first information and needs to send it somewhere, if it doesn't have the MAC address of where it's going to send it, it just broadcasts it. Okay, then everybody sees a broadcast or a switch. So you could be a rogue device and see the broadcast and so forth. Okay. Now, a couple other things here too. We set up Wireshark on a port, and then let's see. I'll just do this with red. We said the traffic from this port, which is going out, we mirrored it to this port, which then all the devices on the network, as they left to go, let's say, to the internet or somewhere else, this PC saw that traffic and analyzed it with Wireshark. We'll do more of that later on. So let's move a little bit further. Talk about access, where we allow people in. 802.1x network access control. We can use that protocol to, for example, authenticate people coming in, and if they don't authenticate, we don't let them in. Let's talk a little bit about that. Oh, by the way, while I got it here, NIAC does that with access points. You authenticate through the access point. We'll see how. Okay. So, when I talk about the access layer, where we allow people in, wireless,